Celtics trade rumors are starting to pick up as a brand new report has dropped revealing some big information surrounding Brad Stevens' plans as this offseason continues to get underway. We're going to break down that new report and discuss what it means going forward as this trade has huge implications for the Celtics. Ton to go over today, as well as a few other updates, including some interesting comments you're going to want to stay tuned for. Before you do it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Celtics content. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support over here as we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot to go over today, and obviously the Celtics are in an interesting spot. They have to shed salary, and there's going to be a lot of rumors surrounding trades and things like that. And a brand new rumor and report has dropped surrounding a center that is an East rival and also a very interesting name that hasn't been talked too much about in the Celtics circles. And let's dive right into it here. You can see this drop yesterday. Celtics among top suitors for bruising East center per report. And it basically goes on to say that Mark Williams is expected to be made available on the trade market again after nearly being sent to the Lakers in a rescinded deal last February. Williams has 1 year left on his rookie contract and does not appear to be in Charlotte's future plans. The Bucks, Celtics, Bulls, and Raptors and the Warriors are considered potential suitors for Mark Williams if the Hornets continue to shop the starting quality center. Now, Mark Williams is a very interesting situation. He obviously was traded to the Lakers. The trade got rescinded, and we can kind of use that package, and we'll do it later in the video, to kind of define what a package may look like for the Boston Celtics. But this is a very unique trade because the Celtics, they desperately need a center, but also they're, of course, in a mode now where they're shedding salary. They're going to have to get rid of Kristaps Porziņģis and probably Jrue Holiday as well. And they're in a very unique situation to be able to make a trade that helps them going forward while also, of course, helping their the desperate cap situation they're in, especially with Jayson Tatum being gone. And for Mark Williams, it's very interesting. The article goes on to say the Celtics will likely be looking to bring in some replacements at a cheaper cost than Porziņģis because Porziņģis and guard Jrue Holiday have been at the forefront of trade rumors. But with Boston looking elsewhere, they have been connected to some interesting names, including Mark Williams. And this season, or past season, in case you're unfamiliar with Mark Williams, because of course he played in the Hornets, not sure how many people watch Hornets games, but he averaged 15 points a game, 10 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.2 blocks. Now, he's not going to space the floor at all. He's not going to space it definitely not like Kristaps Porziņģis. He's not a shooter, anything like that, but he is a very solid defender, a great pick and roll option, and he's much cheaper than both Kristaps and, of course, Jrue Holiday. But for this case, in sake of argument, Kristaps Porziņģis, he's only in the books for $6.2 million next season, which would then allow, of course, them to have some wiggle room with the salary cap, and then he'd enter restricted free agency. And then you're basically, like most trades we're talking about here, you get a year to see how he fits in the system with, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, and if he fits really well, he will then, assuming he gets extended if they make the trade for him, fit into whatever Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, the future with Jayson Tatum going forward is there. So you would basically have a trial run for a year. And we'll dive into the package now. And one of the big things with Mark Williams, though, he is a young center in the Hornets. We saw the trade with the Lakers, Dalton Connect in a 2031 unprotected first-round pick. It was a big trade, and it was basically 2 first-round picks. Connect was a first-round pick in last year's draft. The Hornets are going to ask for a similar package to that. And whether or not the Celtics want to go out and actually make that move is the big question because they have some holes in their lineup, but I'm not entirely sure the Celtics are going to want to, at this point, give up a ton of assets unless it's for, a star center or things like that because they're trying to get rid of Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porziņģis, and you can do that in a deal like this, but you'd have to give up some of your assets as well. And, of course, we've heard rumblings about Kevin Durant. We've heard rumblings about Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, of course, those two dominoes we would assume are going to fall first before the big dominoes of, in this case, big dominoes, Giannis and Kevin Durant, before the other smaller dominoes like Mark Williams, the Nick Claxton trades of the world start to happen, and both related to the Celtics and other teams. It's going to be interesting to see how specifically those guys, get moved on from on other teams. But of course, with the Lakers or the Celtics as well, to see how they kind of look and away from the outside looking in on players like Mark Williams. And looking at his stats again, you think back to his rookie year, he's only been in the NBA for 3 years now. 9 points in his rookie year per game, 12 points, and this has been his best season to date. But one of the things with Mark Williams is he's injury prone, and of course the Celtics are familiar with injury prone centers, Kristaps Porziņģis, Robert Williams, all these different things. However, he's coming off his most healthy season, and of course, one of the reasons the trade was rescinded with the Lakers was because of an injury he had going on, but he finished the season strong and was a very valuable asset to the Hornets team who didn't have many valuable assets to, remotely think of. And this team, we look at the depth chart, and this depth chart is going to look vastly, vastly different in a few months here just because of all the moves that are going to be going on, all the trades that are going to be happening, and of course, the shedding of salary. So it's a very interesting point now in their offseason. But this did drop. Now, this is a report, or a trade, sorry, from Sports Illustrated. And let me know down below, just a yes or no, would you do this deal and why? So the Celtics received Josh Green, Josh Okogie, and Mark Williams. The Hornets received Kristaps Porziņģis and 2 first-round picks, one of which being lottery protected and one of which being the first-round pick in 2025. So a couple things to go over here. Obviously, you're giving up Kristaps, which at this point is a positive because you're getting rid of the salary. You're giving up your first-round pick in this upcoming draft in a month from now, which is the 28th overall pick, which I actually like the framework. If you're going to give up 2 firsts for Mark Williams, which I'm not entirely sold on, but if you are going to do that, giving up a first-round pick that you know what the outcome of it is, in which case basically a second-round pick, a very late first-round pick, that's the best way of mitigating a risk, of course. And then 2027, who knows how good the Celtics will be in 2027? We assume that Jayson Tatum will be healthy then, so we can, I believe Jayson Tatum on his own can carry any team to a playoff berth. So I don't think it'll be a crazy pick, but it's also lottery protected in case, stuff hits the fan and the team starts to, fall for whatever reason in 2027. It's basically 2 late first-round picks and Kristaps Porziņģis for Mark Williams and then a couple of, guys. Josh Green's capable, Josh Okogie, a decent defender. On the paper, if you say Kristaps and 2 firsts for Mark Williams, seems a little bit steep. You compare it to what the Lakers, in theory, gave up or tried to give up. Dalton Connected and a 2031 unprotected first-round pick, I believe it was. Probably a bit better of a package from the Lakers side. But if the Hornets aren't getting many other offers and the Lakers, don't want to go after him again, which obviously won't happen, the Celtics really want to acquire Mark Williams, it's a decent option. Now, there is the flip side of, Kristaps, you could argue, is a better fit for this team, a better player, all these different things. He's making too much money, and that's why they want to get rid of him. You're getting back salary. Of course, you can, waive Okogie or Josh Green, depending on, of course, how things happen with the rest of the salary. I like the way that it looks. You get Mark Williams back, who's only making $6 million a year. You do what you want. Waive Josh Green, waive Josh Okogie, figure it out, and, get rid of the salary there. And then, of course, you're giving up 2 first-round picks. Now, one of the other problems with this, even though the first-round picks aren't a ton of money, you're at the point where those 2 firsts can be used in other trades to make bigger splashes, whether that be the unrealistic option of Giannis or other smaller options as well. There's a lot of different pieces here that could happen. But let me know down below, do you think that this is a deal that should get done? What do you think about this trade? Do you think this trade works? Of course, with the way the Celtics are trying to get their salaries and all these different things waiving. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And things like that. A couple other things, though, before we do wrap up. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. We do have some comments just surrounding Jayson Tatum from some of the young Celtics. And you can see this here. The first day I stepped foot into the practice facility. And this, of course, a very interesting, Jayson Tatum, even though he's not going to be playing next year, his impact is definitely, going to be seen heavily by a lot of rookies, a lot of young guys, and we saw that in the first year of Baylor's career here. You can see what he said. The first day I stepped in the practice facility, he was there signing a new contract, and just from the jump, he was always there for me to talk to. Of course, he is the recent 30th overall pick, as we know. I asked him at the Summer League what to expect, and he shared everything and gave me some advice on how I should go about it and whatnot, and it's just how he's been the whole year. So even though Tatum's out, obviously a fantastic teammate, but he's going to be providing some insight and some help throughout the season, even though he's not playing on the floor. So let me know what your thoughts are on that as well as the trade. It's going to be a crazy offseason. We'll keep you updated with all the latest news. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.